Hello to you, my fellow Dark Ones. How are you guys doing today? How's life? At the end of the last episode, I did mention that we want to get into fluid crafting today. However, there is an opportunity. The reason that I wanted to get into fluid crafting was the assemblers. Assemblers are weird, you need different types of fluids and you need to craft everything in them, right? So my plan was that over here we're going to have an array of assemblers and then we're going to also provide them with fluids using applied energistics and its add-ons and craft everything that we want. And yeah, I also wanted to make the Lapatronic supercapacitor, you know, so that we can have large gas turbines, we keep the power, and we can operate everything at the same time. Obviously as a buffer. However, I noticed something very important. Well, I noticed it a while ago, but there is something called Precise Auto Assembler. Basically, it's a multi-block assembler. And guess what? I want that. Instead of having 10 assemblers, I can have one multi-block. However, it does require a few things that we don't have. One of them is osmium, one of them is rhodium, and one of them is sonarium. And at the end of the day, I'm not even sure if it's gonna work. But we do need to fix things, and I thought maybe we should start with our platinum line. I made a garbage system off camera before we got into applied energistics, and well, even though it's a mess, it has been very useful. I think removing this thing is going to take a few hours, so I'll be right back. Okay, so most of the machines have been removed and we have a cable connection to our applied energistics system. It's actually not that far, our base is right over here, and you know, that's actually the dungeon, so not that much. Although we might have to bump up the power. We're going to have two systems over here. One of them is going to be our own applied energistics system, which the color for it will be purple. And in order to manage all the dusts and fluids, maybe we're going to have a second system over here. I'm going to use 5 chemical reactors in order to extract platinum and palladium. And it's not going to be in order, because some of the machines are going to require extra buses and hatches and, well, I need extra sides. I have also set up a very rudimentary applied energistics system over here. Ignore the cabling. It has to be symmetrical. But this applied energistics system is going to receive every single item that we need for the platinum line. Because if I do it inside my own applied energistics system, when we run out of, I don't know, platinum metallic powder, then the terminal is just gonna jump. And I don't like that. I prefer to have an independent system. Although I think cabling is just gonna be slightly complicated because we have to use 2 different colors. But yeah, we have an export bus which is exporting platinum metallic powder from the second system into the input bus of one of the chemical reactors. And our own applied energistics system is going to provide us with aqua regia. That is true. I haven't actually showed you, but down here I do have a very small system making us aqua regia and something else. Yes, nitration mixture. It's not something super fancy, but at least it's automatic. So if we turn on the machine, yeah, we're getting platinum residue dust and platinum concentrate. The platinum residue has to go inside the second system. Oh, it started raining. It's a good thing I covered the roof. But anyways, yeah, platinum residue goes inside the second system. Now we need to operate the second chemical reactor. Our applied energistics system is going to provide us with ammonium chloride. For the platinum concentrate, I'm just using a fluid conduit from Ender.io, like so. And this is the part where last time I made a slight mistake. So on circuit number 1, you get the tiny dust, so that's garbage. But circuit number 2 and 3 are basically the same recipe, right? The difference is the time. So if we put it on circuit number 3, it's going to consume a bit more power per tick, but it's going to take 35 seconds compared to 70. So I think we're good to go. Yeah, so every single dust should go inside our second system, stop connecting. And now we come to all the fluids. I do have a tank for diluted sulfuric acid at our own base, which is making us aqua regia, so we will import that one. Nitrogen dioxide as well as palladium enriched ammonia are going to receive storage buses, because we need to process them later on. Like so. Another thing is that I should really make a habit of locking the fluids. Yeah. Boo! Hi! It has been a while later and I had to gather some resources. It's not like what we're doing is expensive, it's just that you need a ton of parts and I have to constantly craft them. But at least the palladium and platinum section is done and I have taken care of almost every single item. If I can get in, well obviously we are going to cover everything so it's not going to look that ugly and we don't really need to get inside ever, because everything is automatic anyways. But where I left you was somewhere around here, yes. Diluted sulfuric acid, nitrogen dioxide, as well as palladium enriched ammonia. So I have obviously went up ahead and finished the rest. We are recycling almost everything that we are getting, and some of them are also even fully recyclable. For example, diluted sulfuric acid, you always get it back. Sodium formate you're not going to get back, but calcium chloride is also fully recyclable. I mean, I put one stack in the system, there should be one stack left somewhere. Yeah, it's still here. In any case, as a result, we have almost 800 platinum dust, 230 palladium dust, and the rest are from our own system. I brought them over. But now that we have platinum and palladium, we need to move on to the next section, which is platinum residue dust. We need to extract rhodium from it, we need to extract ruthenium, and also osmium and iridium, which are the main things that I want, so let's get to work. I think for our next step, we are going to need 3 blast furnaces. They can share walls, but it wouldn't have been symmetrical. So we're going to have individual ones, then it would be symmetrical. Boom! Hello. So it's been 2 days later, and that's the platinum line. I thought it's getting boring if I do it step by step. I'm just repeating the recipes. Everything is in the JEI anyways. It's a semi-super complicated system, and my brain was not functioning anymore, so I had to delay my work. I'm not being very efficient, well, semi-efficient, because I'm doing it in like literally 2 chunks. You can do it in 1 chunk, but that's going to be very messy. But I'm using extra chemical reactors, extra blast furnaces. I'm not sharing that many walls, mainly just for symmetry purposes. However, as a result, some of the items were imported from our system, so platinum metallic powder, chalcopyrite, ignore them. But as a result, we have a ton of palladium, we have rhodium, we have ruthenium, we have some osmium, and we should have some iridium, if I find it. That one is iridium. 2000. I'm just basically using a combination of ender tank, ender chest, applied energistics, pipes, and also a lot of single block machines. But it does work. I'm actually quite happy with that. However, that causes a bit of a problem. If we go to our fuel production area, which I have to fix very soon, this is the problem. We're not gaining that much fuel anymore, and if the ore processing is working, we're actually losing fuel. Obviously, not all the machines in the ore processing setup is going to run constantly, but yeah, in the future, we're going to have problems. And it's all because of the platinum line, because there are so many machines everywhere, and I went with single block generators, which wasn't the best choice. Anyways, we are at mid-game, so it's about time that we have a midlife crisis, meaning that we need to move on from single block generators to multi-blocks and also alternative sources. Since we are producing a ton of benzene, we can convert it into nitro benzene, but I'm not gonna do that today. Today we're going to focus on something else. Purple energy. Green energy. I mean solar panels. Solar panels have a few advantages. You can craft them, and once you need to upgrade them or you have the material to upgrade them, you can just recycle them and make an upgrade. The other advantage is that it's extremely lag friendly, it's just 1 block. The disadvantage is that it's a bit expensive and you're always 2 tiers behind, so at best we can make the EV one. I just wanted to mention this is a substitute for our power generation. It's not going to be the main one, but I think it's going to be a good investment. So we have to start with 8 volts. Alright guys, I still have not removed the pipe, I just noticed, but we have 27 ultra low voltage solar panels. Edir garbage. The reason that we're going with 27 is that it's an odd number, obviously. It will have a center. Maybe we should go with 33. I don't know, it's like 6 more. I'll think about that. But the reason that I had to kill a few withers was that we need the dire crafting table. So let us get our crystal matrix ingots. That takes ages. I need 9. This is an IV machine. I just wanted to mention that. Also, we still don't have a compressor. We're using the steam one. Okay, apparently we do have the circuit. What are we missing for this thing? Double compressed crafting table. That just entered our system, which is great. That's our 2 pistons, and I guess our 2 robot arms. I don't have a pattern for that, which is actually perfectly fine. We do have the machines. So there you go. Dire crafting table. That should be a quest. Yeah? Come on. So this is a bit expensive because you need a higher tier circuit, you need the other wafer, we need some go-to-hell sheets, and most importantly, we always need a superconductor. So we need a few MV pumps. Let's go with 30. Why not? For the moment, I actually do have a decent supply of helium, but we might have to get some more. I still have not automated endstone. Oops. That was it? Okay, you go back. Obviously, the MV superconductor is going to be the cheapest one, and we have already made some high voltage, extreme voltage, and insane voltage ones, so it's not going to be a big deal. But yeah, we have LV solar panels, which is garbage. We do have the low voltage solar panels, however from medium voltage there's going to be a problem. We need something called sonarium and we are not producing that. So sonarium is something from IC2 and you used to be able to make it inside something called a molecular transformer. I think the first time that we were playing this mod pack, this machine was available, but now it has been removed and there is a multi-block for it, which is really not gonna happen. So what we have to do is to get the GregTech version, which comes from algae. It's an IV recipe, it takes, wow, well at least it gives you 2. Anyways, let's try to get some algae. Thankfully, there is an algae farm, which is not a big deal. It just requires a ton of garbage. Let me try to get that. Okay, so I have crafted the algae farms and we're going to have 2 sets. But for the moment, I'm just gonna assemble the one. Those require a machine casing and, well, we're going to go with IV and that's incredibly expensive. The higher tier machine casing that you use, the faster it's going to be. So we have to go with IV. We could have also gone with LUV, but we can't make the input hatch for it, and it has to correspond. The problem is, where do we assemble it? Anyways, while I figure out where I should put this guy, we also need some UU matter, so let's take care of that one too. That takes ages anyways. This is obviously going to be a very temporary setup because I have to optimize it later on, but for the moment we just need a bit. And yes, it does require 8 amps. I haven't made the machine yet. I'm so happy I had the resources, otherwise it would have been very painful. But there you go. That is the mass fabricator, high voltage. It's high voltage, right? We don't want to blow up the base. Yeah, high voltage. So I'm going to use high voltage superconductors because I think it needs all the power. And obviously we have 8 gas turbines, so let's hook them up. So this guy takes a ton of energy and in return we get 1 millibucket of UU matter. We can amplify it, but for the moment I think this is gonna be good enough. It does take 40 seconds for 1 millibucket. Wait, it currently uses 2 amps of high voltage. It does say 8 amps. Okay, I don't care. But yeah, we have UU matter. A teeny tiny bit. This is a 9x9x3 machine and it does not require any power, although I put a roof on it temporarily because I'm not sure if rain affects it or not. But yeah, we provide it with water through the input hatch and, well, we get some algae every 25 seconds, so it's not great. But that should be a quest. I think. Maybe not. Maybe I need more. There's also a red algae. The reason that I'm going to actually put them over here is that later on I'm going to need them in order to make nitrobenzene, because one of them is going to give us almost free ammonia, and I need it for nitric acid. Well, we're not getting the red one, but we have what we need. We can use the green one in order to make glowing coral, and then using UU matter we should be able to convert it into sonarium. The problem is that I had to make some adjustments to our clean room, so I don't think it's clean. Are you clean? Oh yeah, okay. We needed an advanced autoclave. It's gonna take 6 minutes. For 2. A few hours later and our journey for the solar panels has brought us to the Twilight Forests. Sonarium is going to take a tremendous amount of time to get prepared, so I thought I should maybe start gathering the resources that I need for the next tiers. So for the high voltage solar panel, we are going to need something called irradiant reinforced tungsten plates. Tungsten is not the problem, steel leaf is the problem. And also for EV, we are going to need night metal. Exactly. I know for a fact that we can find steel leaf inside the labyrinth, so let's check it out. Wait. What? I have never seen one which is closed off. It's okay. There are 2 more entrances. And this one is open. Let's get some torches. And we go in. In the maze they give you paper, they give you the wafer, so you can make the map, and yes, I have found the treasure room. I think we need around 2 stacks of steel leaf, but I got tons of armor, and they can be recycled. Let's kill this guy. He's dead. And there's more steel leaf here. Perfect. I don't really know if I need more. I have a ton. Let's get out. I couldn't wait, but yeah, we have actually plenty. I needed 2 stacks, and that's definitely more than 2 stacks. You have to macerate it, you get the dust, you just put it inside an alloy smelter. Cool, at least this part of the project is done. Now what we need to do is to kill the Hydra, go to the Phantoms, Phantom Knights, whatever. Of all the bosses in Minecraft, I hate this guy the most. But we don't burn, right? Burning is not the problem. Hitting him is the problem. We're actually doing a decent amount of damage, so this could be fine. Yes, he's dead. I don't know how. I don't really think night metal is going to go that smoothly. You need 9 armor shards in order to make 1. But here are the phantoms. Hello, boys. Let's hope they drop something. I killed the boss. I think. Well, everybody's dead anyways, and yeah, I also got myself a broken spawner for the crab. They do drop the armor shards. I think it's fairly obvious that I did not get enough night metal, but I did add a spawner to our mob farm and we're getting the armor shards. That was just an impossible task. Thankfully, we do have the crab. I think literally the final thing that we're missing is Naquada duped wafer. Maybe some plutonium as well. I'm not sure. We will see. So from our quest report, we did manage to get some Naquada ore, but there were small piles in some of the planets. So we have 104 oxide mixture. I think, yeah, each two of them is going to give you a nugget. Oh, it does this one by one. Okay. Oh, and yeah, we need a ton of silicon solar grade. I have been cooking them. Did you die? Yeah, we have fuel. What were you talking about? Yay, our first piece of Naquada nugget. We're doing garbage. For plutonium, I had some dust from Phobos. We're processing that. If that's not enough, I'll just process uranium. If that doesn't work, we have to go to a new planet, I think. But we do have a decent supply of uranium, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal. As usual, it has been a while later, and yeah, we have a brand new clean room, and that is because I decided to add more autoclaves. I needed so much sonarium that I thought if I use only one, it's gonna take, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days. However, our first stack is actually ready, so we can start crafting the MV solar panel very soon, after we get 1 stack of irradiant reinforced titanium plate, which is gonna take a few minutes on its own. Okay, so another problem that we have is that the Phobos dust gave me only a few plutonium. I'm going to go with half a stack of solar panels. I changed the numbers, therefore I'm going to need 1 stack of plutonium. I have been checking, the plutonium that we want can actually be found on Callisto. It's an ore vein, so it's not gonna be a big deal. We already have the rocket, we have the fuel, we're good to go. Oh, and yeah, Naquada. From everything that I smelted, we have like 5 ingots. So I think we can make some of the silicon. However, this one requires blocks of solar grade silicon. 16 blocks, we can make 5. I have been cooking a lot, I don't think it's gonna be enough. I should really start making an actual compressor. This is garbage. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that should be our medium voltage solar panels. Half a stack, and that is a quest. Thank you. Obviously, it goes back in. We have to upgrade it again. In the meantime, my silicon has also been prepared, so let's try to cook it. It's not working. Oh, it is working. You're gonna give me all 4. Wow, good job. This is actually a very resource intensive project, and you might notice it from my drives because most of them were red, now most of them are blue. But I think at the end of the day this is going to be worth it. I'm going to have half a stack of EV amps. That would be 8 IV amps, and I think that's actually going to be way more powerful than my entire Bunzen production. Thank you, bats. We run away. We wait for them to despawn. Another thing to mention is that it's passive power. Expensive, but I guess it's worth it. Of course, this resource-intensive project forced me to go back to Ceres in search of some plutonium, and since I also need a ton of saltpeter for my platinum line, I gathered a lot of those as well. Another thing is that for irradiant uranium, we either need sonarium, which is going to be time consuming, or we're going to need glowstone, which requires some manual work. Obviously, I preferred the latter because I didn't really want to waste time. For better solar panels, we not only require higher tier circuits, but we also need more of them, and we're short on circuit boards as well as CPUs. Therefore, using 2 chemical reactors, I automated the nano CPU as well as the qubit to be made passively. So instead of importing from the output bus, we're just reading the inventory using a storage bus. And yeah, obviously the 3rd chemical reactor is going to take care of the circuit boards. My fellow lords and ladies of darkness, even though this is the high voltage solar panel, that was the hardest one. You're asking why? Good question. This enriched sonarium requires 8 irradiant uranium. You need 512 and each one of them takes half a minute. So combine that with everything else that I had to craft, it's been like 6 hours. But that's half a stack of high voltage solar panels. That was extra. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the quest. Oh, and before I forget, you go back in. We have to upgrade you one more time. But this one is actually not a horrifying upgrade. Yes, it does require a ton of circuits, but the best part is, the irradiant reinforced tungsten steel only requires quadruple sonarium plates, so that's not really a big deal. All I'm saying is that it's not gonna take a crazy amount of time. How would you make it quadruple compressed? Circuit number 4? Hope that was correct. That was only 2 stacks. I think I need 2 stacks more. Yeah, that's true. But we have a decent supply of sonarium. Yeah, we're going to need 4 more sonarium. That should be plenty. The rest of them are offline. A few hours later, and yeah, the recipe looks complete, and we can actually make 16 EV solar panels. But that's not all. We even have a Lapatronic capacitor. I'm sorry, supercapacitor. This is basically a supercapacitor bank from GregTech, although I want to improve it by a bit and maybe try to double its capacity, like so. It should be possible. I need to make a ton of Lapatron crystals. That's the main problem. Actually, I'm sorry, we can make 24 EV solar panels. So wait, the last quantum computers are the final ones? I'm sometimes a bit confused because I do a lot of things at the same time and I don't really remember the numbers. Anyways, enough or not, we're going to try and assemble everything. So while the circuits are getting ready, let us try to take care of the rest of the items. We need half a stack of small sonarium batteries. We have some in the system as a quest reward, but we need to make a few more. So there you go. That was the battery haul. Now we need my canning machine. Are you the one? Yes. Oops. It does that sometimes. It's obsidian on my head. Thank you. At least in this way you get free obsidian. We also need half a stack of EV robot arms, so there you go. Okay, we don't have them yet. We're missing the circuits. Oh, you're using the wrong one. What a jerk. I thought I fixed that. I had to change the pattern for the circuits, now it's fixed, and yes, we are now assembling the solar panels. It's going to take 70 seconds for each one. However, if I'm not wrong, we should be able to make a bit more capacitors, I think. Yes, now we have everything. Now we actually have a teeny tiny bit more resources, so maybe I can make 9 more. Yeah, forget it, 18 is more than enough. Another thing is that after this project, I have to literally go and mine because we're out of so many things. We're out of tin for making soldering alloy. Stop. Come on. I'm out of sulfur for making sulfuric acid, and I seriously have to fix ammonia using the algae because we're out of ammonia. Always. But one stupid problem at a time. Let's fix our power generation first. It's almost ready. We just need one more. I believe that just goes on top. I have never made this machine. We shall extend the glass and obviously get stuck in the process. It's fine. We can teleport. So are you complete? Cool. It's going to have a passive loss of 62 EU per tick, so I'm not sure if it's a great solution. But in the back we have a 16 amp energy hatch, which is IV, meaning that since it's not an operating machine and it's a capacitor bank, it can accept 20 amps of IV. And we also have a 16 amp dynamo hatch, meaning that we can extract 16 amps from it. Obviously the solar panels are going to be EV, so I have also made some transformers, and we're going to assemble them up there, you know, centered with the road. That's 2000 EU, right? Yeah. That's awesome. So that's 16 of the solar panels, half of our entire supply, more are being made, and we're going to use superconductors. These are double EV superconductors, meaning that they can carry 16 amps, which is perfect for us. You're 16 amps, right? Yeah, you have to double check everything. The transformer that I have made also takes 16 amps of EV and gives us 4 amps of insane voltage. And I was also reading a quest on transformers, so let's check it again. Step down mode is the default version, meaning insane voltage to extreme voltage. And in this mode, the large dot is the input. Step up, which is something that we want to do, meaning converting extreme voltage to insane voltage, the dot is the output. So let's make sure it doesn't connect right now. We shall hit you with a soft mallet. And now that should be EV to IV. Cool. I'm gonna make a backup. Alright guys, my OBS unfortunately crashed and I lost a bit of a footage, but that is half a stack of EV solar panels. I'm assuming you don't really need to do this, but I'm using superconductors EV in order to send all the power into 2 high amp transformers. We're converting the EV power into IV, which goes down into our capacitor bank. And if we go to our capacitor bank, you might notice we're making 65,000 EU per tick. That is 2 amps of LUV power. I just did a bit of calculation, so each Bunsen cell is going to give you 266 EU per tick. This guy gives us 65,000. So it's 245 times more efficient than Bunsen. Well, obviously not this guy, the solar panels on top. The first thing that I actually want to do with this power is that I want to transfer it to our blast furnaces and upgrade them into LUV. However, we don't have helium in order to make superconductors. Again, it doesn't really have to be a superconductor, but it makes my life easier. So how do we get helium? Obviously, centrifuging endstone is a solution and we do have a setup for it, but I don't have access to endstone. There is a way of automating that using Thaumcraft, but unfortunately we are not there yet. 99% of the helium that I got was actually from this setup over here, where we were centrifuging liquid air. And you might notice it's actually not hooked up anymore, and this is why we're not out of helium. Oh, we have a lot. Not a lot, but a decent amount. Okay, so let's fix the blast furnaces first, and then we'll fix helium. First things first, one of the things that you might notice is that I do have a decent supply of IV superconductors, but we need to use the doubled version. Because one single cable can only handle 12 amps, but we can extract 16 amps from our dynamo hatch from the supercapacitor. So this is why I need more superconductors. Another thing is that there is a 4 amp energy hatch for IV machines. It's also incredibly cheap to make, we just need tungsten wire, tungsten steel, and IV energy hatch. That's it. Oh, and obviously some silver. Thankfully, we do have some extra volcanus block, because I'm removing a hatch, we were missing one block. Well, let's turn them off. I have double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked, whatever, and yeah, we seem to be fine. Everything is IV, so nothing should explode, even this guy. So I guess I can connect the cables. Let's see how it goes. See you in hell. That's where all the fun people are. Oh, we're fine. Okay, hell has to wait, I guess. So if you guys remember, a few episodes ago, I made something by accident. Osmiridium. Cooking it is an LUV recipe, so let's see if it works. Are you gonna work? No? You have 4 amps of IV. I thought that's how it's going to work. Weird. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. Provides up to 4 amps to the multi-block. I mean, I can go with IV energy hatches, it's just that I was expecting a different result. So do you even work? Okay. You don't understand the input hatch. Fine. I just have to make some changes. It's fine. I switched everything with normal IV energy hatches, and yes, we're working at LUV. And that is osmiridium. And probably we should take a nap now that we have solar panels. And the blast furnaces are running. That's kind of important. Because one of the things that you might remember is that we're making 2 amps of LUV, and over here, we're consuming 3. That is because we have the capacitor bank. We can do that for a short period of time, I suppose. A few hours at least. However, just before we wrap up today's episode, there is another project that I want to work on. Over there, we're actually producing a ton of gases and acids, right? So since I'm not processing any ores, the platinum line is offline, and therefore we're not consuming any of the gases. However, when it is running, we're always short on oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, as well as ammonia. Well, ammonia is still empty because we're making ammonium chloride, I suppose. So I have been thinking to myself that maybe we should start fixing that as soon as possible. You might notice that I'm going to make 4 more vacuum freezers, and that is because we want something called liquid air. Essentially the same setup that we have over here, but a bit more efficient. We are freezing air, we're getting tons of garbage. That garbage is empty. I'm sorry. This is why we want to make it more efficient. So I have done a bit of a calculation. It's probably not correct, but we will see. It takes 1.4 seconds in order to get 1 bucket of liquid air at high voltage. We need 53 buckets, and in 74 seconds at LV voltage we would be able to centrifuge it. So 1 high voltage vacuum freezer should be able to handle 1 centrifuge at low voltage. Since we are going to go with 1 high voltage centrifuge, 4 vacuum freezers should be able to handle it. I want to try my best in order to not consume any extra power, so I have brought with myself some Master Magic energy converters. We don't really want to waste fuel on things that have to be made passively. Oh, it's facing the correct way. Nice. Actually, these Master Magic energy converters look amazing. Can we put them somehow in the front? Yeah, we can. We just put the maintenance hatch on top and the energy hatch in the bottom. It's just that now I need some cables. Because, you know, only the backside of it looks nice and we want it to face that way. Yeah, something like this should look fine. Now we need to also provide them with shards from Thaumcraft. So I have my ender chest with all the shards. It's hooked up to our mod farm. And they're actually quite energy efficient, so we don't even need a speed upgrade for the conduits. But that should work. Come on, they're online. We put you on round robin. I actually prefer the cyan color when it's off. Anyways, you guys know the drill. Each one of the vacuum freezers is going to require an intake valve so that it automatically takes in the air, and 1 output hatch, so let's cover the rest. I thought I need more casings, but we're good. Wait, why don't we have power? Oh, I didn't connect this one. My bad. So as long as we have shards, this works constantly. So liquid air on its own is kind of garbage. We need 2 centrifuges in order to get all the byproducts. And yes, again, we're using energy absorbers. I'm running out of these things, so they're not going to be standard anymore. They work with creeper egg. The first centrifuge is going to give us nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and noble gases. We want noble gases to come from this output hatch. The rest doesn't really matter. The noble gases will go directly inside a second centrifuge, and in return we get methane, CO2, helium, and deuterium. So here are the eggs. You should have your power. And now let's do some piping. Don't ask me why, but for some reason I decided to use go-to-hell fluid pipes. It does handle the heat, and I think it's one of the only uses that we have for it. But yeah, that is our production rate for argon, nitrogen, oxygen, and noble gases, which is not that bad. And yeah, since this guy is high voltage, it overclocks the recipes, so it's actually faster than the vacuum freezers. But I don't really know how to calculate that one. This is why I said my calculations can be wrong. But the rate that we're making liquid air is not that bad. I'm happy with it, so I'm not gonna complain. Anyways, I locked the noble gases because it has to go inside a second centrifuge. I just stole some from our old setup, but once we reach like 30 buckets or something, we should get extra goodies. Come on, you can process this. Yes. Yeah, we have deuterium, we have carbon dioxide, we have helium, and we have methane. Helium is actually useful. It is not the main reason I made this setup, but it's one of the most important reasons. So that part was pretty standard. We have already done this. We just made it a bit more efficient. However, there is one more part to it. But before doing that, let us try to have an applied energistics connection over here. Not the most ideal spot. It's fine, I can live with that. I had to add a few storage tanks at our base, but now we're importing everything into our applied energistics system. So numbers should start rising. I have also added some fluid drives for next episode. And yeah, by accident we're getting something in here. Sulfuric acid. Yeah, that's another problem. We're not using it and we're making too much of it. But yeah, this part is done. Let's focus on the next one. Next episode, two things are going to happen. One of them is that we are definitely going to get into fluid crafting, and definitely we're going to start making nitrobenzene. Fluid crafting is not such a big deal, however, nitrobenzene is going to be a bit tricky. Why? You need a crazy amount of nitric acid, and nitric acid is actually very difficult to produce very fast. Because you always need ammonia, and well, at high voltage it takes 16 seconds in order to make 1 bucket of ammonia. I haven't actually found a better recipe, maybe there is, I just can't find it. This is why over here we're also always short on ammonia. We still don't have it. So we do have the algae farm, and I think this one, the golden brown algae biomass, is going to give us golden brown cellulose fiber. And that fiber inside the fluid extractor is going to give us 100 millibuckets of ammonia in 3 seconds. Actually, despite what the quest book tells you, I don't think that's going to be a very viable option because you don't get that much of it. I think it's just going to be a substitute and that's it. Yeah, and you see it's actually quite slow. I mean, you do get it very slowly and that's the main problem. Every time it gives you 4. Okay, so over here I wanted to have 2 assemblers, medium voltage. Apparently we don't need to, just the one will do. One of my biggest regrets is that I had tons of machines in every single chest across our base and I smelted all of them. Because I thought I don't need medium voltage machines. Unfortunately now I'm using them. Anyways, since this is not the best way of getting ammonia, you are medium voltage. You're also medium voltage, we're fine. Yeah, as I was saying, if this is not the best way of getting extra ammonia, what should we do? I don't really have a good solution. I guess we go with 2 more chemical reactors. We just mix hydrogen and nitrogen, we will get ammonia. Yeah, I'm very sorry to mention this, but I absolutely have no other solutions. If you have something, please let me know. That's 1 bucket of ammonia every 8 seconds. This guy is doing a bit better. But we're out of algae, and I don't even think 2 algae ponds are going to cut it. But at least we're getting some ammonia once in a while. I did try to cover everything as best as I can, and I think until next episode I have plenty of time to think how to get more nitric acid. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's also a good time to wrap up the episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next one, bye bye.